It's your daily dose of Donna. Happy Friday. We've made it to Friday, March 27th. I don't know if you're like me and you've been needing this Friday like nobody's business. That is me. I have my kids out on spring break starting right after the show, which is why I pulled it up a little earlier than our normal start time. I'm sure that's going to throw off a lot of people. They're going to be like, what the hell? What is this? Donna's always late. Why is she early today? So thank you guys so much for being here and just being a little bit flexible with my schedule. I have such a banger show for you because I have a huge guest that so many of you guys have been following over on TikTok and YouTube. And she has a podcast. I can't wait to get into it. But before we do that, you know what time it is. It's your daily dose of Donna. When I started covering this Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni case, now we're at like 4,700 years, but probably 15 months ago, I don't even know. Yeah, probably about 15 months ago. There was just a few people that I found that I could trust. There's a few people that I found that covered it in more of a pop culture commentary way, like I do. And then when it came to the legal side of it, there was just a few people that I felt like I could really go to every time something came out and was like, just break it down like in a real way, not in some weird bias, crazy way. And that to me is my girl, not actually golden, famous, not actually golden.
Blake Lively famous, Lively Baldoni famous, which is no one in my personal life cares about Lively Baldoni. So
it's so interesting. Don't you find it so interesting? Can I just call you NAG? That's annoying. Golden?
It is. I know it's my fault, but everyone, you can call me Nag or you can call me L. My first name starts with an L.
Okay. I like L, like Elle Woods.
Yeah, kind of.
Bend and snap. Okay. You actually have, oh my gosh, people are so excited that you're here. Oh my God, it's Nag. Nag, we love you. Hey, Nag. Okay, so yes, this is a long time coming. I've been kind of stalking you to get you on my show. And then this morning, I saw a TikTok of yours about this one story that we're going to get into in just a bit. That is so fascinating. This video you posted went viral, like majorly viral, because it's just a completely wild lawsuit about this woman, Amy Griffin. So I want to get into that later, and we will get into that. But you jumped on the TikTok scene, I imagine, with this case, the Blake Lively case, right? How did that go?
I had been lurking around on TikTok for a couple of years. I love TikTok. I still love TikTok, even though it keeps changing. And I never planned on making any content. I just liked watching people. But when the Blake Lively case dropped, I watched for a couple of weeks. And I was so frustrated at how wrong everybody was getting it, because it's hard for people to separate, sexual harassment from sexual assault, from sexual misconduct. And, what are all the different laws and how does civil cases work, which a lot of people don't know because it doesn't, come up in a big high profile case all that often. And so I just decided, like, I can't take it anymore. I have to make a video just so I can have said this. Right. And then the next thing you know, it had like 300,000 views and people were like, we want more. And a year plus later, here I am.
Yeah. And you tended to come at the reason why I like your videos maybe versus some other lawyer videos or lawyer kind of approaches is you are very human. Rather than just being a lawyer, you have a personality, you have an energy that like we get to know you, but you also do that very intentionally. You show us what you're wearing, you show us your clothes, your makeup, your hair, and we see your amazing home, your closet that is like, hello, goals.
My safe place, Donna. My safe place.
I would live in your closet if I lived in your house. But also I've connected to you because you are a boy mom, I'm pretty sure, right?
I am. Yeah, got a 14-year-old boy, which I think you have someone pretty close to that, maybe.
I have a 13-year-old boy and a 10-year-old son, but my 10-year-old is a baseball boy, and I've recognized your baseball mom moments.
Solidarity, yeah. That is, it's a life. It's a lifestyle. It truly is.
It really is. And every single weekend, I'm like, you've got to be joking. We're driving where? Where?
And how many games are there going to be? We don't know how many games there are going to be. Okay, cool. That
Wait, you're telling me that if they win, we're staying?
Yeah.
So, okay, so I love that about you. You've also just been, I think, very good at kind of describing or explaining these really intricate like legal details. And that's where my brain goes to mush because I just don't have that capacity to understand a lot of these legal documents. Like I loved when there was the amended complaint that Justin released because it was like storytelling,
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean, so much of it, I think we as the public are like, okay, what are the facts? Like, what did everybody say? And what did everybody do? And is there proof? Right? Do we have evidence? But a lot of litigation is the process, it's the
Mhm.
how. How does all this stuff get done? And what is the law? And what are the procedural stuff? And I was surprised that people cared about it too. I was just as surprised as you. People were like, no, I really want to know about this motion for whatever. I'm like, okay, if you want to know, I'll tell you. That was kind of one of the things that shocked me was people will say like, no, I want to hear about personal jurisdiction. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
who knew?
Yeah. So now we're in a position, and I think it's kind of crazy. I actually reached out to you before I even really read up on the news about all the new rulings and everything. And so it's perfect because I kind of just said, NAG is going to teach it to me. Elle is going to teach it to me. Elle Woods is on her way. So let's talk about where we are right now in terms of these new rulings that happened just yesterday. We've been waiting on answers from the judge for a long time, right?
We have. There are a bunch of things pending out there. There were a bunch of motions pending out there, requests for the judge to rule on certain things. There are some in the Jones versus Abel case. There are some in the main case. The most important ones that we're waiting for are the judge's decisions on these two motions that the Wayfair parties filed late last year, where we had the hearing in January, that if they win all or part of that, will completely, like, that is a total win. The case stops. Lively's case does not go forward.
Hmm.
So those are the ones that we're waiting for that are the most important because that's going to determine whether there's going to be a trial.
Yeah.
Um, and the judge has indicated he has set a case management conference for April the 2nd. So
Okay.
we will know by then. If not before then, we will know then what is going to happen. In the meantime, he went ahead and ruled on a couple of things in the Jones versus Abel case. Jones was trying to file an amended complaint, and she had also moved to dismiss some of the counterclaims by Wayfair against her. She won one and lost everything else.
Ooh,
Um,
which one did she win though?
she won the one where Wayfair had sued her for violating the confidentiality provision in the Jones Works Wayfair agreement by turning over documents through the Van Zandt subpoena, turning that stuff over to Lively. And the
Oh,
court said, sorry, but the way that agreement is drafted, the definition of confidential information just doesn't include the kind of stuff you say she gave over.
mm,
So that is a win for her, but she is being sued by Jen Abel under a different law for turning over that information. So it's not like that issue went away. It's just that claim went
got
away.
it.
A lot of times when you're filing a complaint, you're like, let's throw everything at it, right? Let's try every legal theory. And if three of them survive, three of them survive. So that's the one win that she got. She pretty much lost everything else.
Are you like me in thinking and kind of placing all of this essentially on Stephanie Jones? Like, do you believe that Stephanie Jones is like the center of all of the craziness like I do?
Yes. I mean, I think that if Stephanie Jones had not gotten so mad at Jennifer Abel for leaving Jones Works when she did, we would not be here.
I've
Um,
always thought the exact same thing. I think this
mhm.
all came from a personal vendetta.
Agreed. And I think, I haven't obviously read Jones's deposition and maybe one day I'll get to, but it feels to me like one of those situations where Jones was probably oblivious to the fact that all of her subordinates couldn't stand her, right? These
Mm,
websites are going up. This Business Insider article comes out, and Jen Abel is like her right hand woman in the LA office, right? Sort of her protege. I think somebody she thought was a lot like her. And
mhm.
so when Jen Abel left and that article came out, I think her whole world just absolutely crumbled. I think she was like, nobody, all the people I thought loved me actually hate me. All the things I thought I had, I don't have. And I think she just was not thinking straight. And so she decided to make it everybody else's problem. And a year and a half later, it's still everybody else's problem.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable. And I always think when there's smoke, there's fire about these people's reputations. And I think Stephanie Jones, prior to this lawsuit, even had quite a reputation in
Mhm.
Hollywood, and at least with the people that I had spoken to, the sources that I have. And I said this so many months ago, that a person that I know, I always try very hard to like keep the anonymity.
Protect your
Is
sources. Mhm.
Yes, is related to a very high up at William Morris, like a
Right.
super, super partner, and is also a former, industry guy. And they told me that Stephanie Jones, like all eyes on Stephanie Jones. This is what they told me day one when this all came out. It was
Yeah,
really so long ago. And so I've always just kind of kept that in the back of my mind. Like it has to kind of go down to this woman, in my opinion, only my opinion, is an erratic, probably not really clearly thinking things out. And she just acted on emotion. I mean, a lot
yeah,
of what she seems like is just emotion based.
agreed. The fact that her first instinct when all of that happened was not like, "Boy, I really need to step back and reflect on what's going on in my workplace." It was to seek revenge by calling her competitor, by calling Leslie Sloan and saying like, "Hey, just so you know, this is going on." And then if one of the most interesting things to me that we've gotten in the pieces of Baldoni's depot, she called Baldoni and asked him to help her deal with it.
My
Right?
God,
And it's
when?
like, I just don't understand. I think, to me, that's kind of revealing, right? Like, if your world crumbles around you, it's like you find solace in your friends and family. It's like, I'm going to go to an island, I'm going to whatever. But her first instinct was to just breathe fire over anything and everything she could find. And I think that tells you a lot about a person. And
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything in the last year that has changed my opinion on that.
And I remember what really stopped me in my tracks is when we found out that up until January of 2025, she still had access to Jen Abel's personal like iCloud.
My God.
That feels criminal to me.
I think, well, the one of the claims they filed has it's a criminal law they're using civilly.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean that whole side quest is a whole other thing in and of itself. I have argued, Donna, I have lost track of the number of times I have argued with people in the comments about, well, it's an employer's phone, so everything that's on it belongs to the employer. And I'm like, that is not the law.
Oh, it's
Just
just not the law.
because
Okay.
no, just because you put your private something on an employer issued device doesn't mean they own all of your personal information. Like, the data itself has status, right? So people just they love to create this all or nothing. But Abel's claims against Jones for all that stuff, for taking the information, for having access to her iCloud, they're still in the case. And I think
Mm.
that's a real thorn in the side for Stephanie Jones.
Interesting. What else happened yesterday? Anything else that was big for Justin Baldoni? Or was it
No,
all about just Stephanie Jones?
no, it was all about Stephanie Jones, except that it was really the day before we had gotten this note from the judge who was like, "Hey, we're all going to meet together on April 2nd."
Mhm.
So, it's been 3 months now, a little bit over 3 months since he had the hearing on these motions. They're called dispositive motions because they
Yeah.
can dispose of the case. Um, and people would file letters like, "Hey, can we get an extra week on the pretrial stuff because we don't know what's going to trial yet?" Hint, hint, Judge
Mm.
Wyman. And then one was filed earlier this week by the Wayfarer legal team that was like, "Look, not only are we having problems coming up against the deadline, but the lively people are being impossible, and
That's what
we
I was gonna ask you, this barrage of claims that they're that I mean, what, 1,000?
said it was 1,000 documents, which, even if there's 13 claims, even if every single claim were to go to trial, that's ridiculous. That's I've seen cases with 1,000 documents that were like a class action securities fraud case. I mean, that is just not that is just not what this is.
Where do you come up with so many documents? Like, what would they be, some of these examples?
It would be like every single message, every single email, every attachment to every contract with 65 drafts of the same document, that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm
Mm,
sure they've exchanged tens of thousands of documents at this point because
yeah.
that happens in litigation like this. But to have it all be relevant, that's a pretty big swing. So I think when the judge saw that, because I believe he set the hearing before Lively's people even responded and just said, all right,
Oh.
all right, all right. Let's just have a meeting and we're going to talk about, either are we going to trial? And if we are we going to still try to go in May, or are we going to bump it? Are we not going to trial? He will either announce at that hearing or tell us beforehand which claims have gone away in those dispositive motions, because it is fair for them to say, how are we supposed to prepare for trial when we don't know what trial is going to look like? So, we're all just kind of trying to get to that point, but it's more of the same. The Wayfarer folks say this one thing, and then even after the judge has ruled on it, the Lively people file a document and say, that's not what happened. And it's like, oh, Lord, that's just for us.
Yeah. And it does feel to me, and I try so hard to remove myself and my personal feelings about this case, which I've made very clear throughout, that I don't believe it's a valid case on Blake Lively's side. And I don't think she has enough evidence to prove any of these things. But that being said, I find myself like considering Blake and all of her attorneys, I just find them to be these kind of, I don't even want to say anything like thirsty or whatever, but almost like desperate. They're using desperate measures is what my gut feeling says. Like, if you have that evidence, do you need 5,000 documents? Do you need so many different requests for sanctions? It's just constantly, it's like the kid that constantly has issues,
Right.
like
Right.
Just stay okay.
Like, why do we have to keep talking about this? It's a weird combo too, because one of her lawyers, Michael Gottlieb, is mostly a plaintiff's attorney. So he sort of usually has that posture of like pushing the case. Plaintiff's attorneys have to be really aggressive because they're the ones pushing the case, right? They have the burden of proof. But Ezra Hudson, who is one of her other lead attorneys, is usually a defense lawyer. And so the way that she writes and the way that she speaks about the case is as if she's on defense. And it's sometimes I'm like, you're on offense.
Oh, interesting.
Right? Like, this is your case. You brought it. Because a lot of her writing will be like, well, the Wayfarer people did this and we're just reacting to it. And it's like, girl, this is your case. So it is kind of weird.
Is that normal to get a defense attorney in this position? Why do you think that happened?
All I can guess is that firm, Manat, which is a big firm, must do some work for some other Lively or Reynolds companies.
Oh,
right. So maybe they're like, corporate formation lawyers do work for them and they got referred within the firm. I mean, I've looked at enough of, Ezra Hudson is the chair of the employment department. She's very well known. She represents studios a lot of the time.
Oh, wow.
And so I think if this case were against one of the bigger studios, she couldn't do it. She'd be conflicted out, right? Because she represents the other side of the case. I think the only reason she can do this case is because Wayfarer is not big enough for her to have ever worked with them before. But no, it's not usual. It's not unheard of. But typically people stick to one side or the other. And it comes out in the way that I think sometimes people will tell me there's an intangible and I can't put my finger on it. And I'm like, I think this is what it is. She doesn't usually sit on this side of the table.
Interesting. And these are things you're picking up on that probably like people like me would never pick up on in just their way of communication.
Yeah.
Do you, at this point, are you feeling any certain way about which way the judge will go?
I feel pretty confident that he will grant some of it. They gave him a menu of like 1 million options, right? For every single claim, he can pick like 4 or 5 different options.
It's like Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, exactly. With the, the spiral bound menu with everything you've ever seen before in your life.
Choose your own adventure.
Exactly. So I do think he will grant some of it. I just don't know how much. I have never thought this case was going to trial. I don't know if that's going to be because the judge grants all of this, because he grants most of it, and whatever's left, the parties are like, we can find a way to work this out. We don't want to go to trial on this. But I do think he'll grant something. There's just too much there and frankly, it wouldn't take him 3 months to write an order that says no.
Yeah, that's so true. So there's a reason that we're waiting until the final minute. But we're almost there, you guys. We are 1.5 months out.
I'm so tired of refreshing my browser like 16 times a day,
Oh
right?
my
Because it's like,
God.
what if it's while I'm doing this? And what if it's, I mean, good
Oh
Lord.
my God.
It's what it
I'm
all is.
sure you're constantly feeling like you have to check in, like you're waiting for a baby to be delivered.
Kind of, kind of. And there
Um,
are really good followers who will like send us stuff every like, do you guys know this came out? Do you guys know this came
yep.
out? So usually people are pretty on top of it. But yes,
And
I
I
get
just see
stressed
right
out.
now, did you see the new filings? I'm like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Which new filings from the last 10
Oh,
minutes?
oh
Was there
goodness.
something new?
Hold on.
I can pull it up the docket too, and we
Okay.
can look together.
Let's refresh.
I mean, we're at bottom of
Oh,
page 8, right?
oh wait, they all just came in.
Oh shit. Okay,
Oh
wait,
wait,
hold
wait,
on.
wait.
Let me share the screen so we can look at them and look really quickly look at them here. Okay,
Okay.
3 of them, right? Because it's March 27th. So the first one is memorandum and order re the motion to quash.
Okay, he's okay. So there's motion to quash, amicus briefs, and attorney's fees and costs. This looks like he's about to end this case.
Stop.
Hold on. Okay, so this is all of the okay, so the motion to quash order is all of the content creators who got subpoenaed,
Okay.
who they a lot of them filed motions to quash or said, we should have our fees paid, blah 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 blah. So he's saying the motion for sanctions is denied. He's basically saying, yeah, I know you don't like this. You sent those subpoenas, but I'm not gonna grant sanctions. Um,
This is the one that I have pulled up right here.
um, yes, yes, yes.
Oh, because this is about the different people that were, yes, I see
There were
Perez
subpoenas, right? So
Hilton
like
here,
Perez is in there, yeah. So he
Cassidy OC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he says, okay, they can proceed anonymously. That's cool, but I'm not going to give sanctions because I'd have to find bad faith. And I just didn't find bad faith. So he's
All
like
right.
ending that issue once and for all.
Interesting. Okay. Now
Okay.
let's look at the second one that we have here is for attorney fees and costs for Vision PR for Leslie Sloan.
Okay. So they filed an award for attorney's fees because they got the claims against them by the Wayfarer parties dismissed in June of last year.
Okay.
Oh God, we're talking about Vatuska again.
No.
Yep.
I'm so sick of this Fatuska.
That guy is all over the place. Yeah. Okay. Let me get to the,
I'm going to pull it up, you guys.
yeah. Okay.
See, it's really nice to have an attorney, you guys, that is
Yeah,
here.
like I love the timing. That worked out great. Okay. So he denies it.
Great.
He denies it. No, you cannot have your attorney's fees, but without prejudice.
Oh, why?
So he must say, maybe he wants them to bring it in state court. Oh, okay. So it's complicated because she sought attorney's fees under the New York anti-slap law, which I call the pro-speech laws. And so there's a preliminary decision about whether you can even use that in federal court. And he's like, maybe I could. But what she should have done if she wanted sanctions like this was file a Rule 11 motion, which is the
Oh.
federal sanctions rule. And she didn't do that.
And what do you know why?
No. So he's just like, you didn't file that motion. And I don't know what I would have done, but you didn't do it. So no.
Interesting.
So no things for her.
Okay. And then the final thing that I have here is it says something about Thomas Carver moves to file an amicus brief. It's about
I'm
an
trying to
amicus.
figure out what this is.
Who the hell is Thomas Carter?
I don't know. I don't even remember seeing that motion.
It says an individual named Thomas Carter moves to file an amicus brief in this case to express views regarding the information that should and should not be filed on the public docket. The motion is denied.
I mean, an amicus brief is a friend of the court brief. It is usually only used in appeals where there is a large issue at play. And it's like, hey, we think the court ought to consider the people who are experts in this area, right?
This is when she got like the 80 women's groups or whatever to file.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. And he was like, I don't need any of that.
Okay,
Um,
people are saying Thomas is a random that just inserted himself, and he's the guy that kept trying to back up Popcorn Planet. I don't remember.
oh,
Too many side characters
oh
here.
my gosh. This very much looks as if he is cleaning up this docket. He is ruling on a bunch of the motions that have been outstanding for a long time. So maybe this is gonna continue this afternoon because this is the kind
Ooh.
of stuff that you do when you're like, I want all the, what are the pending motions? He probably has somebody in his office with a list of pending motions and they're checking them off one at a time.
Interesting. So yeah, he's probably sitting there just like unfinished business before we get into the weekend. Let's get this done.
Mm.
Get it
And I
off. We'll
think
check it off.
before he issues the big one, which is what's happening with the dispositive motions, because he knows after that, everyone's going to be focused on whatever happens there. Maybe he just wants to get all the rest of this stuff.
Is there a way we get an answer of that before April 2nd?
Yeah, he could drop it anytime he wants to.
Oh
It's
my
hard
God.
to tell because it's like on the one hand, if they're actually going to have a meeting on April 2nd where they discuss what trial is going to look like, the parties have to know ahead of time what's
Have to
going to trial,
prepare.
unless nothing's going to trial. In which case, he could just bring them in on the 2nd and be like, "Hey guys, guess what? I'm done."
You're done. Oh
Who
my gosh,
knows?
you guys, this is like a freaking soap opera, I'm sure.
We
And if you think that we're feeling anxious about knowing the answers, imagine how Justin Baldoni is feeling.
Y'all, it's so hard when you're waiting for that stuff. It truly is. Wow,
And it's
that was really
been
we didn't plan to talk about any of that today, but you know
I
what?
know, but that
Here we
worked
are.
out. I'm so grateful that you're here and that you were able to do that for everyone. If you guys are just jumping in, make sure to follow Not Actually Golden, subscribe to her YouTube. It's below in the show notes. She's got a YouTube, she's got a podcast called Allegedly Golden.
Mhm.
And of course, she's always on TikTok all the time. So, okay, let's continue. If anything new comes out, you guys let us know in the live chat and then we'll jump on over there.
I'm gonna keep it open.
Yeah, you've got it. Refresh, refresh, refresh.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so let's go into this other story really fast while we're waiting if more Blake Lively comes out.
Yeah.
If if you guys don't know anything about the story of Amy Griffin, an author who wrote a memoir called The Tell, you're going to be fascinated about this. And this is an upcoming case, right? I mean, it's currently in litigation. So you went viral on TikTok talking about it. Actually, I saw your TikTok because someone linked you on Threads saying, if you want to learn about the Amy Tell, which I've been kind of wanting to learn. And I was like, it's my girl. So I was very excited to hear that you were fascinated about this. Why don't you share with everyone what's going on?
Yeah, sure. This is one of those where I read it and I was like, "Wait, what? What?" Right? I literally couldn't believe it. So
Mm-hmm.
the short story is Amy Griffin is married to a billionaire in New York, one of the richest people in New York, I believe, which is no small feat. And she has had investments in. She likes to say she invests in female powered businesses, but she's never really been famous in her own right until
Mm.
last year when she published this book called The Tell. And The Tell is a story about how she was struggling with, why am I always trying to be so perfect? Why do I have walls up? Some of the things that I think a lot of us can probably relate to. What is it that's holding me back from being myself and all this kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
And so she writes this book about, yes, go look at that. It's very telling. She
It's
writes
really telling. I was all over this page this morning.
Oh my gosh. So, and you can see by her Instagram, like this woman runs in the biggest circles there are.
Reese
Supposedly,
Witherspoon.
right.
Yeah, all of them.
Like Gloria Steinem,
Laura
Barbara
Bush,
Bush. So
Lindsey Vaughn.
supposedly when she sent the book proposal to Penguin before it was even written, she was like, "Oh, by the way, I can have it promoted by Reese, Gwyneth, Oprah," like because she knows all of these people.
She's in with them. Yep.
She's in with them. So the book is about how she discovers that what is holding her back is that she has repressed memories from when she was 12 years old of being sexually assaulted by a teacher in Amarillo, Texas, where she is from.
Okay.
And she takes MDMA and
Which
has
is like
this
the thing. It's like that natural medicine or whatever they say, but
like,
it's supposed to get you into your dream state or
I
whatever.
know. My husband's like, "Isn't that ecstasy?" I'm like, "I think it's different because it's synthetic. It's not." But yes, and I think it has. There's shown some clinical value for like PTSD and stuff like that.
Okay. And
So she's like, "I
depression.
took
Yeah, I
the
remember
MDMA.
hearing that.
Yeah, I recovered these memories, and I realized I was sexually assaulted, And so that opens everything up. And then she tells a story about how she went through that and recovered from it. What the lawsuit alleges, it's absolutely crazy. What the lawsuit alleges is that, well, first of all, the New York Times started sniffing around it because people were giving them tips that, like, one of her husband's big investments is in trying to get FDA approval for MDMA.
Oh, stop.
Right. So they're like, maybe you ought to look around because that is not disclosed anywhere.
Oh
Right.
my
It
God.
has this potential conflict of interest. But everyone thought, like, oh, it's rich people, they do what they do. But when they started digging around, the New York Times was like, I think there's more to this. And they dug up dirt, and then finally a case got filed. A case was filed by a woman she went to school with back in Amarillo, Texas, when they were 12 years old, who says those recovered memories are not things that happened to Amy Griffin. They are things that happened to me. I went to school with her in Amarillo, Texas. I was sexually assaulted by one of our teachers. And the reason I know that she purposely used my story is because I hadn't heard from Amy Griffin in 30 years. And then she called me out of the blue a couple of years ago, asked me to have coffee, confirmed that we were the people who went to school together. And then very soon thereafter, I started getting random calls from people saying they were talent agents that were going to sell my life story, and got me to spill all of the details about all of the things that had happened to me. And
so she connects with Amy Griffin.
Uh-huh.
Did they actually have coffee or just connect?
They have coffee. They physically
have coffee. And then right after, she gets calls from all these people saying, oh my God, your story is amazing. Tell us about it. We're agents and we're planning on doing what with this information?
Like selling it for a book or selling it for a series or,
and does
whatever.
She question, like, how did you get my information? How do you know me? Or did they say, like, do you know?
Not at first. I don't know that level of granular detail, but she said that she talked to them for about 2 weeks until she was like, I probably got to ask someone if this is legit. And of course, as soon as she did, she found out that it very much was not legit, and she stopped talking to them. She confronted them. They were sort of like, what do you mean? And then they never talked to her again.
Okay. Yeah. I have so many questions about that. Like, who are these people, and are they hired actors? Like, what happened?
We think that they are private investigators because Amy Griffin admits in her book that she met with this woman. She's a character in the book. She gives her a pseudonym. She calls her Claudia. She admits in the book, I met with this woman, and I had these investigators try to find her so I could have coffee with her. But what Amy Griffin says in the book is this woman confirmed that this had happened to Amy because it happened to her too. In other words, I reconnected with this woman to say, am I remembering this correctly? Didn't this happen to both of us? Now, the woman, Jane Doe, who's trying to proceed anonymously because she doesn't want anyone to know who she is, said, we never talked about assault at that coffee meeting. I never brought it up. So Amy Griffin gives enough information in the book that she doesn't pretend like this thing didn't exist. And I'm going to have to buy the book. I'm trying to figure out how to buy it.
I feel like we could definitely read it now. I mean,
I think I'm going to have
money.
To. I think I'm going to have to, because there's, she apparently references in the book transcripts from private investigators in some way, shape, or form. But the allegations are that, by this woman, Jane Doe, that she stole my story, told everyone it was her story, implicated the wrong teacher. That wasn't him. It was somebody else entirely. Amy Griffin went so far as to call the police in Amarillo, Texas, and ask if there was anything they could do. Now, everybody knows the statute of limitations has run, but she may have reported somebody to the police for doing something they could not possibly have done.
What?
Uh-huh. So I think what's so interesting about it's a fascinating set of facts, right?
Yeah.
And I think what's so interesting about it is maybe 5 or 10 years ago, people wouldn't have believed it, right? They'd be like, no, not this nice blonde lady. But in 2026, everyone's like, that sounds exactly like something a billionaire would do. Yep. That sounds exactly like something she would do.
And doesn't have her own story. So she needs to kind of steal it from someone else to make her story seem a little bit more fascinating, interesting.
Yeah, like you can tell if you go on YouTube and you look at like interviews she did when she was promoting the book with like, Jenna or Reese or Oprah or whatever. It's very much the kind of story that someone tells right before they're about to start like a wellness business.
Yeah.
Like, let me tell you about my story of coming to terms with who I am. It's very much one of those stories, which I think resonated with a lot of people. The problem is, it might not necessarily have been true.
So this woman is now coming out as a Jane Doe because she doesn't want to be public, and she's
Yep.
suing Amy for stealing her life idea. Like,
She is.
what is she suing her for?
Well, I know that's the hard part, right? Like, it's not defamation because she doesn't name who the person is, right? For defamation, it has to be a statement about you. Well, she didn't make a statement about me. She made a statement about herself. So
Yeah.
she's suing for like invasion of privacy, false light, intentional infliction of emotional distress. And then the one I think is the most interesting is she sues for violations of California like consumer protection laws. Because
Mm.
she's like, you guys perpetuated this lie to sell books. You didn't just, no one lied, people lied to me, but you guys lied to the public and they spent money on something thinking it was real. It's fascinating.
Has has Amy said anything about this?
No. And I am Google after I click on Lyman's docket, I then Google Amy Griffin every day. She has not said anything yet. Back before the lawsuit was filed, when the New York Times was putting out their stories, I think this is the one where this guy, Tom Clare, who's one of those lawyers who's always speaking on behalf of people in scandals, said, this is without merit, just the usual stuff.
It's so interesting because it's so specific, and I think that's what gives it away. It's not I guess the story that she writes about is very detailed. It says her lawsuit specifically cites two incidents in the book: an assault at a middle school dance and another in a school bathroom, in which Miss Griffin said that the teacher tied her hands behind her back with a bandana. But Miss Doe, Jane Doe, asserts that both attacks actually happened to her.
Yeah. She's like, that happened to me. And I know that happened to me because I was there. And then there's this weird part about the dress, which has this whole Monica Lewinsky thing to it, where Jane Doe borrowed a dress from Amy Griffin because Jane Doe was like a foster kid living in a children's home. And so she borrowed this dress from Amy Griffin to wear to this dance. And when she gave the dress back, it had this teacher's fluid on it.
Ew.
Yeah, ew. So that's how Amy would know something happened to this girl. Right.
So Amy allegedly saw the dress and saw that there was like a stain on it.
And then maybe when she was, depending on what theory you believe, she was trying to think about her life. Maybe she was like, that one girl, I bet that's what happened to her. Because the Jane Doe says she hasn't really told that many people. She's told like her family members. But she's like, it's not like everybody knew this.
Wow.
So that's why she had to meet with her to have coffee to confirm, like, oh, this is you, right?
Wow. It's really, it's almost like, well, I guess you brought up the two things. You brought up the billionaires, millionaires, whatever, this kind of rich elitism where it's like, I can say and do whatever I want and no one will ever figure it out. It also reminds me of that James Fry
Totally.
story.
The Million Little Pieces or whatever.
Yeah. Oprah's like, not again.
Listen.
Oprah's like, why do I always believe these authors? But it does kind of remind me a little bit of that story because we all fell in love with A Million Little Pieces. We all believed it to be his own story, and it was completely fake. So sometimes people just don't have enough personal life experience to make a compelling memoir. Maybe that's a sign that you shouldn't write one. But the fact that you're bringing up how MDMA specifically got her into this amazing realization, and then her husband's behind MDMA, it seems very strange.
It's very strange. And I have learned a lot in the past week or so about how unreliable memoirs are. I mean, Penguin put out this statement, and the entire statement was publishers are not investigators. They were basically like, when someone writes a memoir, we assume that it's true. And of course, sometimes it's found out not to be true, like James Fry or whatever his name was. I think the problem in this case is it's not just that it turned out not to be true. It might be that it's actually somebody's life story. It's just not hers.
It's really crazy how she went about this, assuming that this girl was just never going to figure it out, which is also really weird with the agents calling her and giving her, like, I wish Amy just would have written a book about her story, the other girl's story. But what I find so fascinating about this is that Amy is continuing to post all over Instagram like nothing. So, I just showed you her her Instagram 2 seconds ago, and she's posting, and no one is like Reese Witherspoon, for example, has to know what's going on here.
Yeah, but scroll down those comments.
Yes, I see the comments, but
People
I'm
are
just
starting to
thinking,
get into the like, what are her friends doing?
yeah. Well, one of the comments says, I wonder what Reese Witherspoon, who famously said women's stories matter, think about her friend stealing another women's sexual assault story and writing a book about it as if it happened to her instead. Someone says, did you steal the dress from someone too? So, I mean, they are going on and on. And someone else says, just observing until the comments are turned off. It's wild that she's not turning off comments. But 4 days ago, she writes to Reese Witherspoon, and clearly they've been friends for years because she says, we've raised our kids together. Reese says, best night ever with you. And there have been so many. Well, Reese Witherspoon, of all people, is a champion. Number one, I love Reese Witherspoon. So this is a bummer, especially because you're Elle Woods now.
Yeah.
But she is a champion of authors.
Yes.
And storytelling and books and women's stories like this. I would be like, please don't post my picture right now, Amy.
I know. Please don't do that. I think, like, I always try to think, because a complaint is just allegations. We don't have any proof yet, right? And so I always think, like, what is the light most favorable to Amy Griffin? Which I guess would be that she truly is confused. And she truly does think that something happened to her and that the MDMA screwed her up, and she really does believe that this happened to her. And I can buy that up to a point, except for the investigators. That's where, and the other thing is, I forgot this part. A lot of her promotion of the book was this very, and I thought it was overkill, but this very like personal, I wrote this book for myself. I wrote this book on my bathroom floor. She kept saying bathroom floor. Who writes a book on a bathroom floor? Although I'm sure her bathroom floor is like our entire house.
And it's heated.
It's right, heated. Right. Yeah. There's champagne button, whatever.
It's probably like yours, but whatever.
Oh, it's not. No, it's way bigger than that. But she says, I wrote this on my bathroom floor. I didn't know that anyone would ever see it. Turns out she had a ghostwriter.
Shut the hell up.
The ghostwriter got sued too. Now, I'm not sure what he knew or didn't know. But even if you take the facts out of it, it is clear that this was a very contrived effort.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that the way that she promoted it was not very accurate about, as to the way it actually got written. I think one of the most interesting things, and this is in your lane, is, she has, so the Jane Doe plaintiff has filed the complaint, but Amy Griffin doesn't have to do anything until she's served with the complaint, right? So you file the complaint in a court, you literally get a file opened with a case number, and then you get a summons back, and you have to personally serve that on the person that you're suing, or they have to accept it. And once they've gotten that, that's when their deadline to respond comes up. And according to the docket, it hasn't been served yet, which means they could be arguing about service, or it means they could be negotiating. And I think in most circumstances, a person like Amy Griffin would be like, how much do you want? You want 10 million? You want 20 million? Like, she's a billionaire. How much money do you want? But I think we're living in a time when, again, if this happened 10 years ago, she'd probably just be like, I'll just pay her off and have her sign an NDA. But I think nowadays we'd all be like, oh, that means she did it.
Yep. If she paid her.
More wise. Yeah.
Well, 100%. I think paying and settling out of court or whatever is an admission of guilt to some extent. I mean, yeah, it could also be to just shut people up and just push them away, like leave me alone. But you wouldn't admit and pay someone millions of dollars unless you actually did it. You would say, no, I'm fighting this through and through. This is my story, which she will probably have to say is like, no, this actually did happen to me. She's going to have to go through and like lie.
Well, I think that's probably, if I were the plaintiff, I think what I would be gunning for is, let me just get this woman under oath in a deposition. Yeah. Let me have her swear under oath that she's telling the truth, and then let's ask her.
Exactly.
Because once you get that, this plaintiff does not seem to be looking for money. I mean, everyone's always looking for money when they sue. Yeah. But she could have sent her a letter before she filed the lawsuit and said, I'm going to file a lawsuit unless you pay me X dollars, if that's all that she wanted. I'm not sure that's all she wants.
Yeah, no. I mean, what if this girl who probably was so excited to be meeting up with her old, beautiful friend, Amy Griffin, looks like a model. She's meeting up with her. She's best friends with Reese Witherspoon. She's like, oh my God, she wants to have coffee with me? Right. Like, this is so exciting. And then can you imagine she starts realizing this? She sends her a message saying, I'm freaked out about A, B, and C. Or she hears about the book and Amy just doesn't respond to her. That's what probably gets this into motion. And she's probably like, F you. Now,
Can't
someone,
wonder.
Beth says something, but how does anyone really know if it's fake or real? It's Amy's word against Jane Doe. So Amy can say, that's my memory and that's what happened.
She can. I think the key is going to be the communications between Amy and these investigator people.
Mm.
Because like what was the
Oh, like
scope of the
discovery.
job?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, what was the scope of the job? What were they hired to do? She said, get this, get that, get this, right? Like, I think that's probably where I agree that to some degree, it's like, I don't know what's going on in Amy Griffin's mind any more than she knows what's going on in mine. But I also think that she was so brazen about this that I would not be surprised if there is a paper trail of how all of this went about, right? Talking to the ghostwriter, talking to the investigators, talking to her friends. I mean, you saw what happened with Blake Lively. Once
Yeah.
people get a hold of your personal messages, you start seeing stuff that they never intended for anybody to see. So I think it's possible. I mean, if I was the plaintiff's lawyer, I'd be like, I want to see the contract with the publisher. I want to see the communications between her and the ghostwriter. I want to see who she hired and what she hired them to do. I want to see all the reports that they sent to her, right? And that is going to tell you an awful lot.
And also, if you guys ever get a phone call from someone saying that they're a talent agent looking for a story, like stop giving your story just on the phone
and
to some willy-nilly person.
Right. Well, and to be fair, Jane Doe is, according to her lawsuit, is like a healthcare worker for $21 an hour. And
Oh,
this woman's a
wow.
billionaire.
Wow.
So, which to your point about, I keep thinking, what were the other options? Yeah, she could have written this as sort of like a fiction book, right? Couldn't she also, though, have called this woman after and said, I want to write our story?
Absolutely. Like that could have
She
been a
did. She just
beautiful.
gave her a pseudonym. And it's like, why wouldn't you let her know? Like,
Yeah.
hey, just FYI, you're going to show up in this book, because she knew that either the woman would say no, or the woman's going to be like, I would like some of the profits then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So to me, that's also suspicious. But yeah, I don't know how far it'll go. But right now, the story of Jane Doe is the only story that's out there.
Yeah. It's really, really interesting. I mean, there's just something that I immediately want to believe Jane Doe because I'm an underdog person. And I always feel like it would be so strange for her to go through this process and have to open up about these traumatic
Right.
experiences in her own life just for money. Like
Right.
that would be strange. Okay. Oh, it's interesting. Yeah. Amanda says that lady, the Amy thing reminds me of the lady that wrote for Grey's Anatomy. Did you see that documentary?
No.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
the woman who said she had cancer and she
Faked
didn't.
all
And
the things. She faked her entire life.
that's right. I forgot about
She
that.
said she was in the Tree of Life shooting. Do you remember that? She
Oh
said
my gosh, I forgot.
everything.
That was
It's
a fascinating documentary. Yeah.
I love a documentary about serial liars. Like
Oh, yeah.
I find those to be the most fascinating, crazy, scary documentaries when someone completely lies about their life. Like Scamanda,
Oh my God. I was just about to
right?
say it. The number of people who have lied about cancer is astounding. It's astounding to me that it's not zero.
It's
It's so
weird.
many people.
I
Yeah.
know. It's
Yeah.
it's actually so strange. I guess it's like the easiest go-to lie because you kind of know, okay, I just have to shave my head and act sick and maybe people will believe. It's the strangest thing. I'm with you. I can't even imagine. I can't keep anything straight in my brain. How would I keep that lie
I
straight?
know.
Okay, there's a few I want to speaking of not calling Savannah a liar, guys, but speaking of about keeping a story straight, just because you're not really covering the Savannah Nancy Guthrie case,
Not really.
it's not a case yet. It's basically just a missing person. It's not a legal case. You're not talking about it so much. So you said you don't really know that much about it. But from someone that is like just seeing kind of headlines and random little clips on TikTok or whatever, what is your gut feeling about the Nancy Guthrie thing? Do you have any?
It keeps, at the beginning, I was like everybody else, like, oh my God. And then as time went on, I was just like, I think that woman is gone. I vacillate between, um, you know, somebody was trying to get to her because of Savannah and something went wrong.
Yeah.
But then I also have this feeling of like, I watch a lot of Dateline and true crime, like many of us do, and people go missing all the time and they're missing for like 20 years.
Yeah.
So there's part of me that's like, I know it's really sad, but also this happens to people all of the time. It's
Mhm.
just that it happened to somebody that we know. I find it very hard to believe that she is still with us.
Alive, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that completely tracks. If she was a 23-year-old girl, maybe, but she is a very, very, according to Savannah, a very weak 84-year-old woman that is
Yeah.
who needs daily medication.
Yeah. But I've watched enough videos of like yours and other people who are really questioning the sheriff, and I do get a funny vibe from him. I do get this. He doesn't give, I've got it, I'm on it, I'm in charge of it. And like, I don't know enough about law enforcement to be too judgy, but he just doesn't give me that. You know how sometimes you see the person who's on, who's speaking for the police department, and you're like, that person is on top of shit. Like
You're
they
like,
are,
if I
they're
lived
on.
in that town, I would feel comfortable and safe. Yeah.
Right. Like this person is doing all, they are screaming at people behind the scenes and things are getting done. And he does not give that vibe. But I feel like Savannah's in a rough spot because what's she supposed to do? Criticize the guy and make it worse?
Well, so this is what I was kind of talking about a little bit yesterday, and I really struggle. And when I talked to my husband about it this morning, who's really not paying attention to the case, he said, "Listen, she has a very important job to keep the sheriff believing in her as like we're working together on this. Plus, she's very close with the Arizona." Senator Mark Kelly.
Oh
And
my
she
God.
called Mark Kelly right away when she found out about her mom missing, who then gave her this is according to Mark, gave her a glowing recommendation of the sheriff. Like, he's amazing. He's going to do it. So there's definitely
Mm,
connections there. She probably doesn't want to throw him under the bus publicly, but I just kind of have a hard time watching all of this and seeing that she is lacking that feeling of anger at this point.
mm,
53 days, NAG, your mom goes missing, who is older, who's this. Without a trace, and there's no leads, and no one has any information, and you're only showing sadness. That to me
yeah.
is very confusing to me. She's like a better
Mm,
woman than I am, because I would be livid at this point.
yeah, I would be too. Well, maybe her persona on TV is real. I don't necessarily identify the words that she uses are very
Calculated?
well, not even
Or like
that.
like
It's
scripted,
just
like written or
it's
something.
very intense. It's just very intense. And I'm not saying that it isn't devastating that an 84-year-old woman that was loved by many has gone missing. But sometimes I feel like, children have cancer. And right, like I'm not trying to minimize her pain, but it's only pain that's magnified because we know who Savannah is.
100%.
And so I'm not telling her how to grieve. I'm not telling her how to be on TV. She's got a public persona. Like I can't imagine being in the spotlight. I think probably the takeaway for me is going to be that we always assume that if you're rich enough and powerful enough and know enough people, the police can do what you need them to do. And maybe that's not actually true.
But maybe it is in some weird, like, conspiracy theory
Mhm.
way, and that is, like, where I get so confused on this case because we've never I've watched enough true crime. I'm not like a missing persons person, but I've watched enough true crime and Nancy Grace, etcetera, to know the order of events when these
Yeah.
things happen, and we just feel so in the dark about everything, and the sheriff is also so intentionally quiet and weird about it all too, which just all speaks very strange to me.
Yeah, I feel like we're at a point now where like, what's the harm in telling us, like putting some of the information out there? I mean, there are people who will figure shit out, right?
Right?
There are people who are amazing sleuths sitting in their own house. What
Yep.
is the harm?
That's what I'm so confused about. Like, how does it hurt if we found out 3 weeks ago that the back door was propped open? We just found that out 2 days ago by accident. Why didn't we know that she was being taken in pajamas and without shoes? Like, those are like very small details, but if a woman goes missing, you want to know the last exact thing that she's wearing. You want to know exactly what to look for. You want to figure also something else that I just cannot wrap my brain around is that the last time she was seen alive was by her son-in-law, apparently,
Mm.
when he dropped her off. Why don't we have any indication of what happened that night? They were having dinner? Were they playing? Was she in a good mood? Did she have a glass of wine?
Yeah.
Like, there should be a little bit more details about last steps. Who saw her last and how did she feel? And was she in a good the Uber driver that drove her to
Mm.
the sister's house? Why don't we know anything about that drive?
And what could be harmed? At this point, they're essentially saying, like, we have nothing. So why not just tell us? I
I
mean, I
know.
guess the answer to that is it might uncover something that they did wrong or didn't do.
That's exactly why I think the sheriff is so quiet. And that's why he doesn't want anyone else helping. And he got yesterday, I talked about this. I'm not sure if you saw this in the news, but there was like a board of supervisors or whatever meeting, like
Mm.
people that are up in the board over there. He got zero votes of confidence, zero out of 300 people.
Oh,
No
wow.
one likes the sheriff. Like the entire city wants the sheriff gone, including his former colleagues, bosses, and friends. So
Mm,
there's something shady about this guy. He goes to the gym every day. He went to that basketball game 2 days after Nancy Guthrie was missing, which is just real strange.
mm.
Um, Everything is very strange about this case. And so that's why I can't stop talking about it. Okay. Another trial that I just watched a Hulu um, special on last night, and it's going on right now. Have you heard about this Trouble in Paradise trial?
I don't think so. Which one
Oh,
is that the one with the woman in Hawaii where the husband I saw some of her testimony on YouTube the other day. Sometimes I'm searching for live trial. Is this
uh-huh.
her husband's the doctor?
The husband is the anesthesiologist, and she is an engineer, like a freaking smart ass,
Yeah.
gorgeous couple. And they have a blended family, a stepson, I believe. An older one is his son, and then two boys together. I don't know their ages. I just saw the Dateline special. I haven't watched the trial. It's happening right now. So they went to Hawaii after being married for 6 years, and they were up on some cliff in a hike, just having like a nice day, I guess. And out of nowhere, he starts taking her shoulders and like pushing her towards the cliff. And she starts fighting back. And then he pulls out a syringe, like, because he's an he's like Dr. Death. And he pulls out a
Yes.
syringe and he starts, you know, pushing it into her body, and she's pushing it away. And then he throws a rock at her and she's fighting back. And then by the grace of God, two other women
Yes.
hear her screaming, screaming, screaming. They call 911. He runs away. They end up
Good.
getting on yes, the police end up going on a chase and finding him. And now they're in trial. So the prosecution, which is her, she is claiming that he tried to kill her on this. And he is now saying, no, she actually tried to kill me. And I was acting in, sorry, and I was acting in self-defense. And now there's like news that she was having an emotional affair right prior. Oh my God, my son, I hate when my son calls me 10 times in a row.
Yes, I
I
have
mean,
one.
it's like, come on, buddy. Like
Yeah.
we're working here.
Yeah.
Text me. So I just find it so fascinating um that sorry.
No, it's okay. Here, I'll
Distracted.
talk. I'll talk because
Yeah, you go.
yes, I saw some of that. I saw some of her testimony, and she was pretty compelling, I thought. I mean, she said like, um, I mean, I guess the the women who found them said that they heard her screams, right? So
Mhm.
that would mean that
And
she
she was
would
yelling,
have
help, help, he's
try to
trying to kill
kill
me.
him. He comes after her and she then screams for help. Like that doesn't make any sense. If she wanted to kill him and they were tussling, why wouldn't she put her hand? Why wouldn't he scream? Why wouldn't she put her hand over his mouth and then push him off the cliff? I don't know. I'm just not, I'm open. I'm always open. But yeah,
I'm
that one is
open too, but I'm
nuts.
open to the fact that he tried to kill his wife. Like
Yeah,
it
totally.
makes it makes
Totally.
so much sense to me, and I just don't understand. I mean, I guess there are women out there that will walk their husband up a cliff and try to kill them, but they didn't find the syringe anywhere, by the way. That's
Of
another
course.
thing. Like that syringe was not on the mountain, so he either picked it up and threw it somewhere else, I don't know. But he allegedly called his son, who's older, and said, like, it's over for me. I'm done. I tried to kill her and I'm done. Like they're coming
Oh,
after me.
really?
But this is just like an alleged thing. I don't know if we don't have like evidence of it. I don't know, but it's a wild, wild case that, when Nancy Grace gets involved, I'm
When
always like,
Nancy's when the hair shows up on
oh,
the screen.
the
I
higher the
will
hair, the closer
The
to
closer to
crime.
God. I think too, like having watched, true crime, those do like if you were a person who was researching how to kill someone, not that I would do that. The people who fall off of buildings or cliffs or whatever, those are the hardest ones to solve because it's like
Yeah.
the trajectories and the right, like,
That's so true.
it could have been
Uh,
a good idea by somebody, but they unbeknownst to them, there were people around.
yeah, but the director of anesthesiology, who was his former boss, or like taught him at a school or something, is interviewed in this Hulu special and says, it's like an impact Dateline, one of those like 30
Okay.
minute specials. So watch it to kind of catch up.
I'll watch it
But
tonight. Yeah.
he says it's called Edge of Death. He says, if you're an anesthesiologist, you can absolutely kill someone. It's like,
Right. Like he can find stuff that they don't even know how to test for,
I
I
know.
presume. Yeah,
I
that is
know.
weird. I mean, I guess it would be like I need to put something in her because what if she falls and lives?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
guess
like,
it's
I want her to
like
be
a double
so
kill over.
dead. And she said that when she was fighting back for her life, she was like, "You can't do this. They know we're on a hike. Like, you're gonna get caught." She's supposedly yelling this to him. I'm gonna keep up on it because I don't
Yeah,
know. It's straight out of a soap opera. I mean, you cannot
it
write
is.
this shit.
It is so fascinating to me how many people in 2026 are like, "Oh, I'll get away with it." Like, I am absolutely terrified that I'm gonna leave a hair somewhere that somebody gets killed 6 months later, and I'm gonna get rung up on some, like, false charge. I don't understand people who are like, "Oh, I'll be fine." I don't
Okay, I don't
understand.
understand. Or I mean, look at the Nancy Guthrie story.
Oh my
They've
god, that's
been
true.
they've been fine. These criminals have been totally like evading the cops. But also, I always think to myself about if God forbid you see someone, just say at work one day,
Mhm.
or at you go out for dinner with someone, whatever, a friend, and then God forbid they end up murdered the next day.
Yeah,
Your life is now on the line because you are now considered the last person seeing this person. You're evidence. Now
yep.
your life is ruined. You're having to go on trial. Your name is everywhere. Like, it's kind of crazy what can happen to you just by being close to someone that is involved in a crime.
It's true. Last night, actually, I was sitting at a baseball game, of course, for my son, and I was talking to one of the other parents. One of the other dads was sitting next to me,
Do they
and
follow you?
no. Actually, he might. He might follow me, so you know who you are. But we were laughing about something, and he's like, "Oh, that's okay. I always carry a gun with me." And I'm like, "Okay, well, that's your open carry, whatever, whatever." And
Yeah.
then I was just sitting there thinking, like, what if something happens later today and I'm the person who testifies he told me he had a gun, right? Like,
That's
he's a
the
lawyer. I don't think he's
thing.
running around shooting people, but it's like, you're right. Like, it could be, and all the people who are on Dateline are like, I never thought this could happen to me.
They lit a room up every single day when they walked in. We always my friend, Zach Peter
Mhm.
and I always joke about like, where's the person that says Nancy lit up a room every time she walked in? We haven't heard that yet.
That's
We need to
true.
find out about which room did she light up? I mean, everyone
Right.
lights up a room before they die.
She was, everyone is and you know what? I have like a dissertation boiling in my head about the use of the term bubbly because it is only used to describe dead. Yeah. It is only
Sodas.
soda. It is a term that is only used to describe dead women. She was so bubbly. I
It's
think
so
what it means is she had
true.
personality and but it's like, why is that the term? Like, I'm bubbly on this podcast, but also I'm like a cranky old lady.
Oh my God, that is so funny.
Do you know
Okay,
what I
God
mean?
forbid. Yes, but if okay, so maybe we should like send out a note, a memo to everyone in our life. If God forbid I go missing or lost, this is what I want you to call me, and it ain't bubbly.
Please do not say I was bubbly. That is absolute BS, and everybody around me would know it. And I don't light up rooms, and everyone didn't love me, and that's totally fine. Um,
She had haters on TikTok. The
the
Blake
Blake
Pots hated
Lively
her.
people really, truly hated her, although most of them
Oh
have gone away. So,
God, they're so annoying. Oh my gosh. Okay, L. Not actually golden. You are the best. I love that you were able to be here with us. We had so much fun chatting. You guys, please go and subscribe over here on YouTube to listen to all of her rants, or go over to TikTok at Not Actually Golden, the whole thing, right?
yes. And
Not
if
Actually
you
Golden everywhere.
except for the podcast, which is allegedly golden, but if you listen to the podcast, I'm trying to do a better job of letting people know it is not a repeat of the social content. Sometimes I talk
Okay,
about the
so
same
what is
cases.
yeah. Oh, it's other cases.
It's sometimes the same cases, but the content is different. So the
Oh,
podcast, the videos tend to be like one issue, one case. The podcast is the first beginning is sort of just like talking about life, like women stuff or mom stuff or Gen X stuff or whatever. Then I have a segment where I do updates on all of the cases that I'm following. So they're just shorter updates. And then at
okay.
the end, I talk about one legal concept that people ask me about that they don't understand that they want to know.
Oh
So
my
it's
God.
more of an overview. So I just want people to know if people are like, why would I listen to that? I've listened to all her videos. I've heard everything she has to say. It is different.
I think that's so fascinating. So if you're interested in like the law and learning more about that, plus you
Mhm.
love watching all these trials and stuff, this is a perfect podcast. And any aspiring lawyers should be
Yes.
listening.
Yes,
I
you can
love
be a
that.
full person. No one tells you that.
Oh
But,
my
I'm bound
God.
to determine to be the one to tell everybody that. Like, you don't
You
just
are
have to be a lawyer.
the fashionable lawyer. All right, sweetie. Well, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you. And I'm sure you'll be back at some point. And let's cross our fingers for good news with the Blake Lively case, Justin
Oh, good.
Baldoni.
I just want news at this point. I just
Yeah,
want news.
that's true.
Thank you for having me. It was good talking to you.
You were super bubbly. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.